What's up, everyone? Tuesday. Moving some stuff around in my studio, but welcome into our TDR Traded Black podcast presented by Flowhub. I'm your host, Shad Dales. AV will jump on in just a moment, talking with Wiz Buckley today. Talk about that major acquisition last week in the psychedelic space regarding Eli Lilly acquiring Atai Beckley. We'll get his take on whether or not he thought this was, hey, look, it's always nice to see Big Pharma acquiring the psychedelic space. It's giving its validation. But was this the right price? He's got some interesting feedback as well. Vireo Growth, man, they're buying up distressed assets. The Cannabist Company holdings, we'll look at that. Pennies on the dollar when you think about how big the cannabis was at one time and how much they've fallen from grace. But their loss is Vireo's gain. We'll look at that, plus the stories developing in Florida regarding hemp, Alabama news as well. So, yeah, not a huge busy day, but here we are, dog days of summer, and we keep coming back every single day to keep you updated on the latest here in the cannabis space. So let's get to it. Welcome at AV Tuesday. And we thought it was Wednesday. And I was like, yeah, it does feel like a Wednesday.
It felt like midweek today, but it's only Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, good time in the summer here. I don't know what I'm saying right now, but it's just a good time. It's the summer. We like these days. We're in the waiting period. As we said yesterday, I thought it was good with what Bronstein said. I think there was a couple of good clips that we posted on X saying, it makes sense for the opposition groups to file their briefs right at the last minute, so that way people can't review, strategize for what they plan to outline and write. But August 17th is that date, and we will see what happens after that. But plenty of action going on in the industry right now. But what are you seeing? What are you hearing? Anything grabbing your attention right now?
Not since yesterday. No. I mean, obviously we had the Vireo acquisition news. We've got a bunch of stuff going on in the psychedelic space. Hemp or Helix Pharma did well today. It was up as much as 15% intraday. I think you're seeing some capital rotate out of Atai and into that, as it's a third of the valuation of Compass right now. And then as far as the tape on cannabis stocks today, I mean, it was relatively muted. I know we got that article by Tom and Marijuana Moment this morning with some quotes that were aged from the soon-to-be AG. Todd Blanche. So it's just a waiting game. There's going to be some nonsense along the way, but right now it's just a waiting game.
Well, I will say Hemp, which is formerly Cybin, they announced that they've completed enrollment into their phase 3 approach study for HLP003, their deuterated psilocybin analog for injunctive treatment of major depressive disorder. And they did it ahead of schedule. So top line data is still on track for Q4, but this is still moving the stock and did move the stock here today. But all eyes are beginning to warm up. I don't want to even say warm up, but again, I will tell people, I know in the cannabis space, we're always fixated on this, and I can understand why, but right beside it, and even in a bigger way, is the psychedelic space. And like you said yesterday, Anthony, no comparisons when you look at some of these companies. And I thought speaking to Dan Carlin yesterday was very telling, especially when he said this could be the biggest moment for psychiatry in over 120 years. And that's putting things to perspective. Like, think about that, 120 years.
Yeah.
And for him to say like that, like he's the chief medical officer of arguably the most successful psychedelic company there is in the space right now. And that's, to me, is a lot of telling information, especially with somebody who's worked 25 years with companies like Pfizer. So
yeah, I mean, to put it into perspective for everybody from cannabis land, I mean, this is essentially the Canopy Constellation moment that happened in Canadian cannabis. Eli Lilly taking out Atai is that moment in this sector where you've had a couple of acquisitions. Jazz Pharmaceuticals, I think, made a smaller acquisition. There's another smaller company as well that was picked up by Otsuka Pharmaceuticals. I mean, these weren't industry-shaking acquisitions. Eli Lilly picking up Atai is an industry-shaking acquisition. This is the Canopy Constellation moment for psychedelics. Now it's pretty much evaluate everybody that's still here and figure out what they're going to be able to do on a go-forward basis. And are they going to be acquisition targets? Or are they going to get commercialized?
Yeah.
And the cohort's not very big. You've got maybe 6 or 7 publicly traded companies. 3 of them are, I would say, mainstream, being Definium, Compass, and Hemp. And then you've got GHRS. And then you've got a bunch of fringe smaller companies. Not to say that they're not valid in any way, but they're just lesser known companies in that space.
Mindset Pharma. Have not heard that name in a while. That's your boy, James Lantier. We hung out with him one time in Denver, Colorado. That was what, 3-4 years ago? Time flies.
That was about 4 years ago, I think. Sam's not going to focus on psychedelics.
No.
I've seen Luke comment on the FDA potentially bringing back Lycos, and then he comments on psychedelic policy moving forward. But Sam's going to be a pain in our ass for the immediate and long-term future. They're not going to pivot to psychedelics. They don't want psychedelics to be accepted. They don't want psychedelics, and they don't believe psychedelics are medicine.
Yeah.
As they simply kind of pigeonhole them into the Schedule 1 form factors that you see them in, which can't be farther from the truth. But Sam's going to continue, and their main mandate is fighting cannabis tooth and nail at the state level and at the federal level.
Don't forget, too, that we're hearing that psilocybin could be moved to Schedule 2 relatively soon. So timing is of the essence, I think, when you look at this, especially when you look at Compass and their phase 3 trial for COMP360 related to psilocybin. So put 2 and 2 together, everyone, and see what could happen next. So all telling things that are happening in place right now, but finally we see action, and we're seeing that, and that's a great thing. Okay, lots to get into. As we said off the top, Matthew Wiz Buckley is going to join us in the second segment. As usual, today's podcast is presented by Flowhub. If you're a serious operator, you already know margins are tight, compliance is complex, and execution matters. And that's exactly why so many leading dispensaries across the country, they run on Flowhub. They give you real-time inventory visibility, built-in compliance reporting, integrated payments, and powerful analytics. And it's all in one streamlined platform. There's no patchwork systems, no manual workarounds. And so whether you're scaling from one location to 5 or managing a multi-state footprint, Flowhub helps you move faster, stay compliant, and protect your bottom line. So if you're ready to operate smarter and build a more efficient retail operation, learn more, book a demo at flowhub.com. Okay, let's begin. Cannabis, Vireo Growth, because at this point, as you said, I love this first line in your newsletter this morning. It should honestly just be a reoccurring calendar invite. Well worded, my friend. So this morning, it's a definitive agreement to acquire cultivation and manufacturing retail assets from the Cannabist Company Holdings. As we know, the distressed MSO, formerly known as Columbia Care, across 5 states, Colorado, Illinois, Mass, New Jersey, West Virginia. Total consideration, $35 million split between cash at closing and seller notes, with closing staggered through 2026 into 2027 as approvals land state by state. They're picking up 25 dispensaries, a cultivation asset, and a production facility. So when you see, I guess, a few of these distressed handoffs now across the industry, Anthony, in some ways, like, does a deal like this actually reset the market's expectations for what cannabis retail licenses are worth going forward? Or do you think in a lot of ways this is a one-off?
Yeah, I don't think it really resets valuations. I think it puts everybody on notice that Vireo now have the second largest retail network in the country. They're going deep. They're going aggressive. They're going into markets that, I don't know, you'd argue are hyper competitive, and is the juice worth the squeeze? I mean, they're going deep in Illinois. They're going deep in California. They're going deep in Florida. They're going deeper in Pennsylvania. We'll see how this kind of materializes. And I mean, they're doing what needed to be done. They're bottom feeding. They're going and picking off assets that were distressed, and they're doing good business. I mean, it's not good for the equity holders that were in any of these vehicles. So, I mean, they're getting rinsed, but at the same time, Vireo's picking up a very good business and picking up very good assets that if they can create synergies and they can squeeze profit out of them, I mean, this is going to be a pretty damn attractive business moving forward. That being said, I mean, it's not one that I've put money into, and probably it's not one that I plan to put money into moving forward. And that's just because I don't want to become diluted in what I have. I mean, I've picked my horses and I'm going to continue to concentrate on those. But this company is very interesting.
Well, if you're an over-leveraged MSO, you're on notice that if your balance sheet's a little bit shaky, as we know, there's a lot of buyers, the capital and appetite, that are looking to scoop these assets up. And like I said, it's crazy to think of what the Cannabist Company Holdings was at one time and have they fallen from grace. But man, oh man, 25 cultivation, or I should say dispensaries, cultivation as well. And these are some viable markets when you think about all the states, as I said before. Would we say again, New Jersey, West Virginia?
5 in the acquisition were Colorado, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and West Virginia that they picked up. And then let's not forget, they still have they're still marching to close on Consortium. They picked up Green Dragon earlier this year. They picked up Schwaz. They picked up Hawthorne on the picks and shovels side. They're picking up a lot of assets.
What's this say about the consolidation cycle in any way? Like, are we near the bottom? Is there more distress still working through the system? Like, are we just getting started? What's your thoughts?
I don't think you see any more of the MSOs that are publicly traded blow up like we saw Air and the Cannabist, but there's got to be tons of assets on the single state operators, smaller side, that have taken debt or that are just not healthy businesses that are going to get scooped up. Acreage with Canopy USA.
Yeah.
Not sure there, but yes, that's one asset that I would expect to see potentially a process on moving forward, but none of the ones that are traded right now, with the exception of like Ascend, and I still don't see that happening. They just have a ton of leverage and a ton of leasebacks. I think over 600 million between the two with like $100 million market cap. So just do the math. But at the same time, they've got a pretty good business compared to where a couple of these other ones sat. $85 million market cap.
One thing grabbed my attention to John Mazarakis wasn't out there saying every single asset is a permanent keeper. He's admitting up front that some of these get trimmed, and he tells me that they're not just collecting logos for press release. So he understands what's at play, but it's worth the squeeze, which clearly when you look at the footprint that the cannabis had, what they got this for, it does make sense. And anyway, when you look at this, hey, it's nice to go out shopping and buy lots of nice things. And VREO has a lot of nice, attractive assets that they've acquired of this year alone. Is this scaling too quickly, too fast in any way? Is there any concerns? Because execution is going to be very front and center for this company, considering what they've done over this past 6, 8, 9 months.
Yeah, so if it wasn't the guy that started Chicago Atlantic doing this, I'd probably say yeah. But I'm inclined to say that he's got an inside track on how this industry is scaled and built. He's pretty fucking smart, especially from a capital allocation and a risk perspective. He's Peter Sachs' original partner on Chicago Atlantic. So, I mean, I'm going to trust that.
Good point.
Whether his team and the level of diligence they're doing and how they're doing sensitivity analysis and figuring out synergies and all of this stuff, I would have to guess that he's one of the top 5 people in the industry that if you said, well, do you trust what's going on? Gun to my head, I would probably say sure. Let's see what happens. I mean, they've got to create synergies. They've got to create cost savings. They've got to increase profitability, and then they've got to shed assets that don't make sense, which they'll probably do. But at the same time, just thinking out loud here and I guess going through the exercise, if you look at something like Florida, they've got, I think, 74 or 76 locations in Florida. Consortium and Green Dragon, not to say that they're bad assets, but they're underperforming assets compared to their peers. I don't know what they're going to do to compete with Move, Trulieve, or Air or Curaleaf in this state. They've got to make some moves because I don't know anyone that shops at Consortium or at Green Dragon versus their peers. And they don't have a branded products portfolio like you would see at Kim or some of the other dispensaries in the state.
They still have their license in Fluent in Texas, correct?
No, they sold the Texas asset.
They did. That's right.
I called that and then it happened.
So it's one thing to be in Florida, but if you're going to get there, you better be ready to dance. And we all
they've got a good footprint, but I wouldn't be surprised if you saw like them buy Sunburn and then you scale the brand throughout all 70 locations in that footprint and just hyperscale Sunburn into the Florida market. Something's going to happen. They're going to have to do something, bring in West Coast brands, bring in brands from the Northeast, do something to bolster the strength of those two assets because they've got a footprint, they've got grow, but those two companies have underperformed the top assets in the market for a very long time, and slapping them together, I don't think is going to change that.
One of the biggest things I heard last December at MJ Biz was that the next MSO is going to be Chicago Atlantic. And it's not necessarily Chicago Atlantic, but obviously John, with his experience working there and what he's doing now, you can understand that these guys, to your point, Anthony, I'd be a little concerned as far as scaling and execution wise if it weren't for people like John in place, but they're going to understand the market. They understand the business model. And this is what they've done for many years. So we shall see how this all unfolds. But one thing's for sure, as you said, put this on your calendar invite because it feels like every other week we're hearing a new announcement from VREO.
Yeah, they're not done. They're definitely not done. I would expect to see more of these moving forward, especially as they want to go deeper in these states. You can probably still buy up Illinois. He can still buy up more stuff in the Northeast. I wouldn't be surprised if you see another big name acquisition from them that they tuck in.
Look at this. Schwaz, Ease, Hawthorne Gardening, Fluent, their association with
C21, not to snub Sammy and C21, but yeah, C21 was on that list as well.
Bridgewell, the Maryland stake, the Johnstown facility buyback, and now this. So yeah, these aren't small acquisitions. These are big boy players. So
yeah.
Anyway, they are on fire, that's for sure. And Colorado deepening on existing position versus Illinois, New Jersey, and West Virginia as brand new entries into limited license states. There's a logic to it, and yes, there is. What do you think about Massachusetts? Because we saw the story today that last ditched effort by groups not wanting this to hit the ballot, as far as the adult use bill that is going to hit the ballot in November. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, just the overwhelming support, and especially knowing that something's been around for 10 years. But as we know, SAM and groups are well funded. They will make this as complicated as possible. There could be, I don't know, this is wild to think if there's any kind of shot that you have an established program in place for 10 years that it could be in risk of being pulled back, which to me would be wild. But
I think it's at a real risk. I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you that it's not a big deal. And I mean, I think it was more so Gretchen that opened my eyes to the psychology of voters with how this could potentially go. Because keep in mind, this isn't a ballot initiative to, let's say, open up an adult use market. It's a ballot initiative to roll back an adult use market. How many people are excited to go to the ballot box to vote against this, even though it's obviously what should be done, but it's going to take a lot of voter education. And the people that do want to roll back the adult use market, now that that ballot initiative is there, are going to seek that out on election day and vote for it. There needs to be a groundswell of support from the industry and from the operators in Massachusetts that educate the voters that are going to the ballot box to vote no on this amendment to repeal adult use. That needs to happen. Otherwise, it could potentially not go our way.
Mitch, you're right. There is now a chance, not ideal, but that is the reality. How much money do you think? I'd be curious to see what the hemp industry paid for Yes on 3 2 years ago this fall. Yeah, it'll be 2 years.
They donated $5 million. There was a Fox News article that called it out.
$5 million. So yeah, look what $5 million got you. So yeah, you can understand that you can rinse and repeat as far as leading up to election.
I wouldn't say those are apples to oranges. I mean, they had the weight of Ron DeSantis behind them.
True. I see what your point is, but it'll be curious to see what the messaging will be. So
like Ron DeSantis was dipping into the state coffers to put millions and millions of dollars against Amendment 3. I think he did almost $45 million.
Okay, so we're talking way more than.
Oh yeah, Sam's not going to go play a ground game and put $40 million in the market in Massachusetts. But they are not going to stop, and I can guarantee you they're probably going to continue with advertisements and continue with their ground campaign until Election Day, which means that the industry needs to have consumers well educated and have voters well educated to make sure that if you're going to vote in Massachusetts and you want adult use cannabis to survive, you need to go to the ballot box and vote no on that amendment. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Adult use kind of hangs in the balance for that.
Well, as Mitch said, there's a chance, not ideal, but to your point, Anthony, yeah, there is some risk involved. So Here we go. We shall see. But something that passed in 2016 could be pulled back 10 years later. But again, some people are writing in here saying that no chance that that actually is going to pass. Everybody's got their own opinion. Hopefully, Eric, what you just said about Massachusetts, no chance of rolling back. I hope you're right, because we need that market to stay live online.
So guys, I know you guys keep saying this, like the fact that 63% of Massachusetts voters support adult use doesn't matter. It doesn't matter right now. All that matters is who is actually going to go to the ballot box, and are they going to be educated enough to go find that ballot initiative and vote no. These numbers don't matter. To be honest, if it was 63 to 65%, it has no business being on there anyway, because the majority of the Massachusetts citizens obviously are for it.
But how educated do you think these people are when you have an existing program already in place for 10 years?
No idea.
There's got to be some truth to that. This isn't something that is the great unknown. You don't know what the other side looks like.
Well, obviously, we're going to see what happens. And I mean, I'm not sitting here saying the sky's falling and I expect it to pass.
Yeah.
But just because a majority of the population support adult use cannabis does not mean that that percentage of the population is going to go to the ballot box and vote no for that ballot initiative. To be honest, if we were going to roll back medical in Florida, it would take a lot to get me to go to the ballot box and vote for it. Because I don't vote in local, I don't vote usually on an off year unless it's a presidential election.
They have to understand that they need to vote no as well as not yes to save marijuana. Midterm turnouts are always pretty low turnout. Is that true? I think
they are. Yes, midterms are very low turnout. That's why this is a problem. This is not a presidential election. I don't vote in midterm, rarely ever.
Yeah. People are bringing up Florida. Let's shift to that because the hemp conversation down there is getting real in a hurry. So there was an op-ed basically on Marijuana Moment. Urban Flow, it's a St. Pete retailer, hosted its third high and dry festival over the weekend. Dozens of brands showing THC-infused beverages. About 80% of that retailer sales come from hemp-derived THC products, and they're staring down, obviously, the ban on November 12th, stemming from the total THC standard Congress passed in the spending bill back in November, as we all know. That ban is basically, they're saying, it'll wipe out 95% of existing hemp-derived products on the shelves. So when farmers are already pulling back, planning months ahead of a deadline like that, how much do you think this is going to get resolved before November versus just becoming another drawn-out fight? Like, we've had this discussion, and as Michael said yesterday, yeah, there's people talking about this. President Trump has kind of hinted it, but when you look at Congress, there's been no change. So I think this is just going to fall on deaf ears. Not saying it's the right decision. I do think there should be a carve-out for beverages, whether it's now or later on. It very much should be in play, but it sounds to me that there's going to be some changes come November 12th.
Yeah, I don't think anything's stopping the ban. I truly don't. I mean, I can sympathize with these people in Florida. It truly sucks. I mean, I'm one of the biggest proponents for cannabis beverages. I think the fact that I can go to Fresh Market, I can go to a big box grocery store or retailer, and there's THC sitting there on the shelf, that's amazing. Like, I fully support that. But I can't support that when the argument is to allow the free shit environment that we just went through since 2018 with intoxicating products, with synthetics and THCA flower and all of that. Like, I just can't. And then the problem is, if you want to look at it objectively, if you do allow a beverage carve out, that is descheduling THC.
Yeah.
You're saying that THC, the molecule, regardless of what form it is, if it's in 2.5 or it's in 5 milligram doses, you're saying that if there's a beverage carve out, THC in that format is essentially descheduled because you're continuing to sell it in grocery, in C-store, in liquor stores, and it's freely available. You can't tell a grocery store that, oh, well, all these products in your cart, the consumer can pay with their credit card, but when they want to go buy the THC beverages, you got to pay cash. Like, no retailer is going to do that. Like, it sucks, but I don't think there's any other way around it.
Yeah, I hear you. President Trump, I know he's pushed Congress to protect full spectrum CBD, specifically, and OMB Director Russell Vought. He sent a letter to Speaker Johnson back in June pushing for a fair treatment of hemp, similar to Andy Barr's Lawful Hemp Protection Act, which would actually set up a 3-tiered distribution system modeled after alcohol. But operators, as I said in this op-ed, like Urban Flow, actually don't want that model. They're pointing out Bacardi doesn't need child-resistant caps, is what they basically said in this story. So all in all, I hear you.
You want your cake and eat it too?
I hear you. It's
like,
I think
honestly, if I was a beverage manufacturer and they said, we're not going to ban you, but you got to put child resistant caps on your beverages and do X, Y, and Z, I'm doing backflips.
Yeah, good point.
Like, I'm not bitching and complaining. So you got to put child resistant caps on your product and take a different level of an extra level of scrutiny, or you're being put out of business.
Yeah,
that's the problem with the hemp industry. They bitch and moan when they're faced with regulation, and they don't have an option here. There's no negotiating here with what's going on. They're going to get given they're going to get given something, and it's probably going to be banned on November 12th.
And look, if I were in their shoes and I had it the way I had for 4 or 5 years, I'd be upset too, because those were some lucrative years. But again,
the way that they had it is insane.
I know you can't expect that to last forever. I get it. And
you gotta appreciate what you just lived through and kind of like evaluate what the future looks like.
Yeah.
Because you built an industry on sand that was this quicksand that was essentially a loophole in the Farm Bill that allowed a descheduled cannabis industry to scale in the United States using UPS, FedEx, the mail, the credit card rails, normal retail channels. Like,
I know.
Sorry, like
I was on LinkedIn yesterday, and one of the big cannabis legal attorneys up in Canada posted some pictures, and it was some of the alcoholic brands and how they say, when it comes to cannabis, we don't want to like have branding and packaging that targets youths and children, people are underage. And some of the pictures that she was showing when it came to alcohol, I'm like, very hypocritical for some of these people to say what they're saying, because the alcohol industry, when you look at some of the packaging that she displayed, Trina Fraser's her name. You should check her out on LinkedIn, but it was pretty an eye opener to see what kind of branding and packaging that a lot of these alcohol companies are doing, and very much targeting people of underage. And you can get that at grocery stores and gas stations.
Yeah, but here's the problem. In the hemp market right now, you can go to a smoke shop and get a pack of Doritos or a pack of Cheetos or a pack of Skittles that look exactly the same as what you would go buy in Publix, yet they are infused with THC.
Yeah.
That's a very big problem.
Huge problem.
That is not only confusing kids, that's a product that kids can get their hand on, and that's a product that honestly shouldn't exist in the marketplace. Like, I'm sure she's got a lot of very good points about the alcohol industry, like things like bubblegum vodka and those RTD drinks, etc. But you know what we don't need to start attacking right now is the alcohol industry.
Good point.
Don't piss off people that have a lot of money and that have a lot of influence.
Well, it's up in Canada, so don't worry about it. Up in Smoke writes, Shad, how can you defend a business plan that exploited a loophole? Really? I'm not defending. What I'm saying is that if I was in the hemp industry and I was making the money that I was making through this loophole, I would be upset that this is coming to an end, because a lot of people like to make a lot of money, and that's exactly what they did. But like I said, further to that is that you can't build a model around a loophole, and they have to understand and expect that this is going to come to an end. So you can pout, kick, scream, whatever you want to do, but the reality is that change needs to be made. And I think the proper changes that are being put in place are the right ones. It needs to be had, plain and simple. So hope that clarifies what I meant by that. Last thing I want to bring up before we bring in Wiz is Alabama. Under state law, federal rescheduling automatically triggers state level reclassification within 30 days unless officials object. Back in May, the State Committee of Public Health issued a preliminary objection to buy themselves some time. There's a public hearing scheduled for Wednesday to reconsider that, with written comments open through August 5th. So this state medical program is pretty much brand new, barely off the ground. In a lot of ways, do you think rescheduling actually complicates the framework in any meaningful way? Like, do you think they're in a lot of ways walking before they run here, that they're not against the idea of this? They're just trying to pace themselves, if that makes sense.
I think they'll get it right. I mean, they've taken a cautious approach. Alabama has been a market that's been in legal malaise since they proposed a medical market. I think that they'll come online in lockstep with rescheduling and get everything done once and for all. I mean, you look at Louisiana, you look at Missouri, you look at Arkansas, Georgia. These states are getting their shit together. And I mean, Arkansas is a pretty good market. So is Louisiana, for all intents and purposes. And I think Alabama sees that. I can guarantee you there's probably a lot of hemp in Alabama right now.
We learned that from Hearst 2 weeks ago about how big. What is it? What are they doing per year again, numbers wise? Was it 3 billion?
Where?
That's not right. Arkansas?
No. 3 billion. That's bigger than Florida.
What was? No. What was? I forget the number. What Arkansas was producing. It's more basically consumers per capita than what Florida.
So their patient concentration is bigger on a per capita basis than I think Florida from a penetration standpoint, but the numbers are
300 million. My apologies. I think that was the number, if I'm correct. In Arkansas,
yeah, Arkansas is doing that, but yeah, they're doing well.
Drop some comments, people. Correct me. Get me up to speed on that. All right, that wraps up things. We're going to bring in Matthew Wiz Buckley to talk about this acquisition and really about the psychedelic space, because each time we have him on once a quarter. Last time we had it was the executive order in Washington. back in April. And since then, man, there's a lot of things that keep moving. And one thing that's consistent, share prices continue to go up. And he's been saying this for a long time. So we'll bring him on, but just a quick word from our friends over at Fund Canna. If you're a licensed cannabis operator, you already know demand for cannabis isn't the problem, cash flow is. You're selling product but getting paid 30, 60, sometimes 90 days later. Meanwhile, you still have to buy inventory and run your business while waiting to get paid for what you've already produced. Most operators don't realize it, but they've become lenders to their own customers and it's holding them back. So with that, that's where Fund Canna then comes in. They provide capital built specifically for how cannabis actually operates, not how banks wish it did. So whether it's a revolving line, working capital, or the ready paid platform that lets you get paid up front while your buyers pay over time, it's all designed to keep money moving through your business and this industry. Fund Canada has approved nearly $500 million in cannabis financing, and it's funded over 5,000 transactions. And more importantly, their clients use them again and again because the capital works with their cash flow cycle, not against it. So if your business is growing but your cash flow isn't keeping you up, you don't have a demand problem, you have a capital timing problem. So if you want to learn more, log on to fundcanna.com and fix it now. All right, Tuesday, TDR's Trade to Black presented by Flowhub. Let's bring in very good friend of ours, former Top Gun fighter pilot and founder of Top Gun Options, Matthew Wiz Buckley. Good to see you, my man.
What's up, fellas? You guys good?
You spending lots of time in Colorado this summer. I've seen you posting some stuff out there. Not a bad life. Florida for most of the year, and then the summertime, Colorado's not bad, right?
Yeah. You live at the beach, you visit the mountains, man.
Good point.
That's my motto.
Yeah. By the way, did you see that air show? Was it last weekend? One of the pilots flew over the crowd.
The Blue Angels. Yeah.
What was he thinking? Talk to me, pilot. Is that wrong thing to do?
Yes. So he got debriefed. I mean, I got to fly with the Blues in an air show in Oklahoma City. I mean, the flight's 45, 50 minutes. They debrief for about 4 hours. I mean, they debrief they videotape the walk out to the jet, how they salute all the way to the engine shutdown. So that was a deviation from their standards. And they ripped that apart, even though, Pete Hegseth can, not from on high are we going to crush is how you have to read that, but from down low, the Apache helicopters off the coast.
I saw that.
Yeah. Same thing. South Carolina, they were ripping along the beach. I mean, they're the same dudes that are ripping over the Strait of Hormuz right now at a couple feet, killing guys and taking out mines and stuff. So when you hear Hegseth kind of give cover to it, it's not we're going to rip your wings off your chest. I guarantee you, it's come to Jesus. Like, you do that again, that's it. Everybody gets a mulligan, and that was your mulligan. But the Blue Angel
loud. That had to have been absurdly loud.
Oh my God, man.
How loud.
Yeah, that's 40. I think it was about 40 feet. I mean, I have tinnitus for the rest of my life as it is, but that some people probably have some tinnitus from that. That was a lot.
40 feet.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. In full afterburner, man. That's
I brought the heat. I had them flying over my house during the RNC show because the track, they would come off the beach and come around here and go back, and shit in my house was shaking, and they were way up there.
Yeah. So here's a tip from a former fighter pilot. Everybody watches the show, in front. The real magic happens behind. So watch the rendezvous. Like, if they break apart, they have to get back together in as quick as possible. They'll point at the other F-18 and be hauling ass and then squat the jet when they get close and almost stop right in position. So next air show you go to, watch behind you. That's where that's where the magic, the magician stuff takes place.
You wonder if Eli Lilly was one of those pilots. What do you think of this deal?
Oh, it's awful, man. It's total rug pull by, is it Angermeyer? Is that how you say it?
Christian Angermeyer.
I think I met him in passing out at Psychedelic Science when we were out there in 23.
We were out there together. I remember.
Yeah. I'm going back in time. Like, after this happened, I'm like, wait a minute, let me go look at stuff. So if you read all his stuff, man, Psychedelic Second Coming of God. I mean, what a pump, right? What an absolute pump. And we're going to change the world and stuff like that, only to sell for pennies on the dollar, man. I think it's an awful deal. He kind of pulled a Rick Doblin. I mean, forever, Rick Doblin was like, MDMA, we're going to give the formula to everybody, and we're going to, no way anybody's going to make a profit. Breaking news, Rick Doblin just sold out to a pharma company or whatever it was called now, Lycos, and it's for profit. So, don't take a leak on my leg and tell me it's raining, right? I all kind of knew this was going to happen, but it still sucks to see somebody be such a champion and then get, hey, I guess, hate the game, not the player, but
I tend to agree with you. And I mean, the more that I think about it, I think he probably did the enhanced games. He's looking at the peptide businesses and he's like, this shit is way, way easier over here. There's less
100%.
friction. We've got till 2029. Compass and Definium are on my ass. Maybe I can cash out of this and kind of focus over here because this could get rocky. But I do agree with you. Like his main mantra the entire time was, we're building this thing. We're not selling to pharma. We're going to build this and we're going to change the world. And now we're here.
Yeah. I mean, the three of us, we've talked for years about it's not a matter of if, but when big pharma comes in and starts scooping stuff up. So we knew this was going to happen. Yeah. But not at this price. No. I mean, hell, the AbbVie.
What's this say about the science then? Because we had Dan Carling on yesterday, Chief Medical Officer of Definium. And Wiz, I told you I was going to ask this question. I forget how I worded it, but in so many words, like, why sell now? Why not see through it because you're this close? He said, we've come this far. We want to see the data readouts before we even consider that. So I look at this, and really, when you look under the hood, there's a lot of trials that's going on with the Atai, but then it begs the question, would any of them gotten of approval? And maybe that's the real question.
I think you're nailing it. So I brought this up to my Top Gun Options members. I'm like, he knows where the roaches are. So Eli Lilly came in and kind of pulled a Gilgamesh AbbVie thing. They bought the phase 2 type of stuff. Yeah, it's not phase 3 like you guys were talking comp or Definium, like really advanced. So are they seeing like, we're betting on the come, or let's take the cash now. So I'm not accusing Atai of anything, but it wasn't as far along, and maybe it's like, you know what? To your point, Anthony, he's like, let's take the money and run. I got crypto losses. I got margin calls I got to take care of. He's got a bunch of irons in the fire. But I read his screed on his Substack. It was a word salad, and I'm like, come on, man. Let's go. So I think it's awful.
How do you think this fares for Definium and Compass?
I think it's good because, to your point, the CMO, I think they're gonna put their helmet on, their chin strap in, and their mouth guard, and they're gonna keep going. I mean, I don't want them to get bought out by a big pharma. My hands shake. There's no way in hell I could buy Eli Lilly as a stock. I want to vomit. I do not want to buy a big pharma. I'd rather buy a Definium or a Compass that is a mature, its own pharma company, so to speak. I don't want them to sell. Let me talk about something real quick, because I know a lot of folks like playing the options. Shad, I know you and I have talked offline about a bunch of this stuff. 95% of options trades are never exercised. Yeah, we trade out of them. I had a buddy in Fort Lauderdale who was a yacht broker. The guy's never owned a yacht, but he buys and sells yachts all the time, type of thing. You trade in and out of the contracts. 5% of the time they are. The Atai deal was one of those times, because a couple of my members, they had $5 calls like out to Jan 28 or whatever. And when the news hit, the intrinsic, the time value, the intrinsic and extrinsic values collapsed. And they ended up bailing, like, oh, I got out of those calls for a little bit of a loss. I'm like, are you an idiot? You have the $5 calls. You can exercise those calls and take delivery of the shares. So when the stock went, up to $7 and whatever cents that day, I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? So folks, if you're new to options or your trade options, if this happens to any of these other psychedelic names, remember, buying a call option gives you the right, not the obligation, to buy those shares at that price. So when it popped to $7, people bailed. I'm like, you just gave up $2. And they're like, oh my God. So warning Will Robinson about trading options. 95% of the time I'm out of an options trade before it expires. these are the times you exercise those calls.
This gets me excited though. I look at Compass. What's the trade now, Anthony? We looked at, is it
popped today, like $12?
Yeah.
Full transparency, we are shareholders. I am a shareholder.
Sitting at a $1.6 billion market cap. I mean, if you were looking at it a couple of years back, you'd probably say that it's pretty cheap, all things considered, with where they 100%. Are with the FDA and potentially rolling approvals and with their phase 3 data. It's in a good place right now.
But these things trade on an FDA approval for general anxiety disorder. And get this, and I knew it was a while, I just didn't realize how long. But Dan Carling said yesterday there hasn't been an anxiety drug approved by the FDA since 2007.
Yeah.
19 years.
Come on, man. I think they need customers.
Or go ahead, right? I mean, go ahead, Wiz.
No, I was going to say they need customers. They don't want healed people. They're mortified that, you can take a little LSD and be clinically cured of this stuff. They want customers. Of course, they're not rolling out anything that works. Remember, I told you guys watched the Oval Office signing when Trump looked at RFK and Oz and said, how effective SSRIs? And they're like, single digit, Mr. President. Then he looked at all the seals. How effective? They're like, saved and changed my life. He's like, why are we doing this? I mean,
it's crazy that they still don't believe that at face value. When you have people sitting there staring you in the face saying, I was suicidal. I was a mess. I hated life. I did this. Look at me now. And there's still people in society that
poked.
Can't take that.
I forget the NIH director's name, the Indian guy with the two ladies in the lab coats. He's like, test. He said something about testing, and Trump's like, what are you talking about testing? Like, fellas, did it work? There's your data. Like, you're exactly right, Anthony. When I preached till I'm blue in the face, like, man, I was a drunk, and I couldn't even smell alcohol for up to a year. Hell, Rob O'Neill, the Bin Laden guy in the Oval Office, said, what? Mr. President, I had to do it 3 times because I needed it wasn't fun, it was recreational, but I needed this beat the hell out of me. So you're right. We're still waking up to the American people are still waking up to this.
Yeah.
But the data isn't catching up as fast as the anecdotal stories. I mean, knock on wood. I was looking at our numbers the other day. We've helped over 300 veterans, first responders, and family members. And knock on wood, not a single suicide, God forbid, but not a single adverse event. I mean, we've had guys get home and have a tough integration, but guess what? We tell you, if you go home to the same people and things that made you sick, you're going to be in a dogfight. But they've powered through it. But man, hadn't had any heart issues, this or whatever. And to a person, it's been the most transformational thing of their life. I can't believe it hasn't super exploded yet, but these are the initial volleys, the Gilgamesh, AbbVie, Eli Lilly, Atai.
Let me ask you this, because I remember we spoke to, I think his name was Peter Rand. He's the former, founder of Small Pharma that eventually got bought out by Cybin, which is now Helus Pharma. And he mentioned one time to us, like, look, SSRIs were actually a good invention back in the 1980s. That was 40 plus years ago. I don't remember. I don't know if you
medicine is today.
Yeah, yeah. But do you think, like, when we talk about, I can't believe this hasn't gotten more attention, this hasn't really exploded into the mainstream, I think we have to get approval first. That is the first major step. But looking back in the 80s, when SSRIs first came out, do you remember at all, Wiz, what that was like to the American public and American people?
The commercials and I take Valium now or whatever, and until it got to the point where that was a horror, and now they had to add the, we're going to show people at a picnic or walking on the beach, but the dude talking really fast, like, taking this will make you suicidal and want to kill other people and give you diarrhea and stuff, right? So we pendulum in the opposite direction to, hey, if you're going to advertise for these things, all the side effects too. But Shad, I think one of the reasons it hasn't super exploded yet is because it's not believable. That's why Trump sat there and he's like, fellas, did this work? Because the regular American public, there's no way in hell. It's like when I tried to market a hedge fund years ago, our return, the marketing company's like, you got to cut those in half. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, that's not believable. I'm like, it's fact. So it's the same thing in the psychedelic space. The American public would be like, well, why haven't we been using these to date for generalized anxiety disorder? I truck Moderna. I'm a triple vaxxed and boosted, former hippie, I trust what the government says. It's still a Schedule 1, man. The fact that a pharmaceutical company just bought a company that does Schedule 1 drug stuff is shocking to me. When is the CSA going to change?
Yeah.
We're still, they're committing a felony. I mean, they have licenses to do it, but we're still talking about a felony, man, when you boil down to it, right?
I don't think the CSA will ever change with these compounds, unfortunately, because that's pharma's moat. Yeah, I mean, 100%. that's pharma's moat for the most part.
Yeah.
As much as we all would like to see these substances in their pure forms helping people, I mean, it's going to be like, well, you want to take LSD as a neuroplastogen, and you want to take it for your anxiety or depression, you're going to have to go through the big pharma doors, go through the therapy, go to the clinic.
Correct.
I don't see them allowing for, especially for any sort of recreational use or descheduling.
You guys know the federal government as well as I do. The DEA is a jobs program.
Correct.
Their job is to say no and be dragged kicking and screaming to maybe and eventually yes. They know, man. Dude's got pensions and job. This is my job to say no. But you're right. It's institutional, and that ain't gonna change anytime soon.
But that's the problem with SSRIs. I mean, SSRIs, they do work in some people. They numb them out. They deal with their anxiety or their depression that's going on. And now you got somebody that's going to be paying you on a monthly basis for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
In some rooms, that's a great business model to have, because especially when you don't have the patient's welfare in mind, versus a dose, have very good durability, and they need to get another dose a year later, 2 years later. Like, that's not a very good business model.
Speaking of patients, before I forget, 2 names I want you guys to look at: Sabra, SBRA. Look at it today; it's up 10%. And AHR, Sabra, SBRA. The reason I love Sabra is also it has a 6 or 7% dividend. So buying these shares and selling some upside calls against it and that dividend, I just saw one of our members post like, man, I've been making 30% a year on this. And look at AHR, American Healthcare Realty. Why? Because Anthony just AHR. Look at it since its IPO. I'm hoping that's what Healing Realty Trust does, because Anthony mentioned the word patience. Some of these things, with the main reason the FDA said no to MDMA is mainly because they're like, we're the FDA, man. We're not the Federal Couch Administration. What are you talking about, psychotherapy? And you saw Compass and all these other guys be like, whoa, ditch all that stuff, ditch couch. No. This is just, you take this at this body weight, it equals this, right? So, but some of these compounds, no matter how hard they try, might be it's going to be a 2 to 4 hour, a Spravato. It might be a ketamine-like session. Look at the infrastructure names. You're not going to your general practitioner or your ear, nose, and throat guy to go do a dose for 2 to 4 hours on a examining room table with wax paper and a National Geographic from the 80s. Yeah. The infrastructure doesn't exist. So a lot of ketamine clinics can repurpose into a cool looking vibe, but those two names I recommended about 2 years ago, and they've exploded. I think they're going to explode even more. But the dividend in Sabra is insane, 6%. That's free money.
Yeah, that's why I think J&J is going to be the one to come in next. I think J&J, if Compass or Definium or Helix gets taken out, it's going to be J&J, because J&J can take the clinics that they're administering Spravato in now, and the infrastructure is there. They're selling $3 billion a year. Yeah, they're selling $3 billion a year of Spravato to patients currently.
Yeah,
why not buy
single drug, man? Yeah. $2.8 billion a year in Spravato. That's why.
And what's it been?
That's why the Atai sale was 2.3 or 2.8. I'm like, that's what the product line sold for to Johnson & Johnson. It's insane.
Well, it begs the question, and I think there's a lot in the pipeline. I don't necessarily know if anything was ever going to get approved. And let's face it, they're beginning a phase 3 trial plus other trials that are taking place. They're going to have to raise money, no guarantees, and I think
100%.
Now I think it also should be said, Big Pharma spends $3 billion like we would spend like $1,000.
That's their advertising budget.
Yeah, big pharma will spend multiple billions of dollars just to shelf something, so it's not a problem moving down the road. They do that defensively.
I'll never forget in Chicago, man, one of our traders, he got around our risk management systems. You weren't allowed to trade biotechs. They were red, and somehow he got around it. Immunogen, right? This guy lost $4 million in minutes. And I was walking. You weren't allowed back to your desk after you got fired in case you sold everything. I'm walking him out. Great dude. Had beers with him. I'm like, dude, what the? He's like, passed the phase 1 trial, passed the phase 2 Wiz, and I heard that they were going to pass the phase 3. And then that morning, breaking news, Immunogens, whatever, failed the phase 3, and the stock went down 80% in minutes.
Yeah.
And of course, he said $4 million. He's like, wasn't my money. I was a junior partner. I'm like, that's some of my money, you jerk. And he was working down the street at a competitor weeks later. But my point being is, Shad, to your point, man, I'm not saying or implying Christian knows something, but a phase 3, even with all the great phase 2 stuff, something bad could happen.
Oh yeah.
So he took the money and ran. So I'm not saying I'm not saying he knows something, but he bailed.
One of the things I've learned in biotech, one, drug development is extremely high risk. You either win big or lose big. And 2, it's not even necessarily like the compound that you're working with. It's how these trials are conducted. And I'm not going to pretend I would know how to package this stuff and what's submitted then to the FDA afterwards. But this is where you have people that have worked for big pharma that obviously understand how to package these things and have decades of experience doing it. That is actually probably more important than anything.
I mean, just look.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Look at Help and Definium. They've cleaned house compared to who was running those companies, involved with those companies from the get-go. I think Compass has had most of their human capital since inception. Because Compass wasn't one of the big IPOs that came out of Canada in the psychedelic space. But if you go look at the management team on MindMed and on Cybin compared to the management teams on Definium and on Help, they are grossly different where they sit today versus where they were on.
And who was the CMO? Was it USANA? Who's it was a lady, right? She left wherever and went to the FDA.
Yes.
So she's like the deputy director or something at the FDA, and she just left one of these companies, which is great news.
There's
Mike Davis as well.
Yeah, he's at HHS now, and he comes from the psychedelic space as well.
That's encouraging.
One thing I forgot which one it is, but he's there. And we've got Matt Thorne that's sitting there as the deputy general counsel of HHS, who's big proponent of psychedelics.
And don't forget, last week it was, Secretary Collins sat with Kennedy and they signed an MOU between the VA and HHS to move forward on this stuff. Fellas, the fact that the active duty of the United States military is doing MDMA stuff is insane. There's no way in hell years ago I would have thought that
you just hit it, because it is insane, but in a ways it isn't because of what it's producing. It's still hard to believe, and that's why we are where we are in this space. But
the three of us are in here. Imagine just being mom and pop going, okay, this is no way. I would know about this. The government would be telling me, or big pharma, who I trust, with the stuff that I take every day would be in here. The fact that all three of us can be every once in a while like, man, I can't believe this is going on, means that we're still at the beginning of this thing, in my opinion.
The thing that I'm most curious to see, which we have no real visibility into yet, is what these drugs are actually going to cost. Because I've got a feeling,
good point,
they are not going to be cheap.
Fellas,
very expensive.
I went a little Jesus and the money changers last month when I saw a report that Secretary Collins is like, we're having a tough time even sourcing ibogaine because people are cornering the market and stuff like that. So I threw a couple Molotov cocktails at some of the for-profit ibogaine clinics in Mexico. It was $3,500 when I went 5 years ago. 15 grand at the same place. $3,500 was a lot 5 years ago.
And are they finding, is business getting busier even at that benchmark?
Bro, who was it? The Wolf of Wall Street. Jordan Belfort went to Beyond and was on Tucker talking about ibogaine and how it saved and changed his life and destroyed his addiction. So now it's hip. New York Times, the president, Joe Rogan. Why do I bring this up? Because you brought up cost. The one clinic who I love with my life, the guy called me. He's like, Wiz, we've done the math. If Ibogaine ever gets to the United States, it's hip replacement, 40, 50 grand and about 4 days.
I believe
all the intake stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. So we're talking.
That's why healthcare in this country sucks.
100%.
Because it's too expensive. I mean, my dad was taking cancer.
He's like, man, he sent me this stuff. I'm like, it was an in-depth report. I'm like, oh my God, 40 to 50 grand for
my dad was taking cancer drugs 2 years ago. It's $20,000 a month. And it was just an not paying out of pocket, obviously insurance and everything, et cetera. Yeah. $20,000 a month.
Jesus.
One injection. That's it from a biologic cancer drug.
How many years ago has it been since they changed those insurance codes? Because obviously insurance is going to be covered.
That was a while ago.
That's got to be
a while ago.
Yeah, that was for ketamine. When they changed those codes, and everyone's like, "Holy shit!" Like they're actually doing it.
We're here.
Like insurance has changed the codes. Like it's going to be open season on psychedelics.
Yeah, but let me remind folks, man, whether it's iboga, psilocybin, bufo, God put these compounds on this planet for us to heal for free, folks. Never forget that, because everybody's like, oh, they're going to price us out of healing. I'm like, the big one didn't price us out of healing. Hell, there's mushrooms in my yard right now. So always remember that. And the cannabis as well, man.
What's your address?
You know where I live, in God's waiting room, man. Boca Raton. Come on down.
In her backyard, honey. Some guy with a microphone and a TDR hat.
Man, if I could have some frogs back there too, but they have to live in like Arizona, New Mexico.
I had some frog conversations with Mike Tyson last year in Berlin, and he asked me if I ever seen, was it the frog or was it the toad? I don't know what it was.
Bufo alvarius. Yeah.
I just sat back and listened, but and probably a good choice. But when you're sitting in a room with Mike Tyson, it's cool to interview him. But when you're sitting eating cashews for 20 minutes, watching pigeons on TV, and talking about psychedelics, I'm like, that was a trip in itself. I'm like, I just wish I could put my phone up on the coffee table and just see everybody like what I'm going through right now. But anyway, that was a pretty cool experience, man.
It was funny. I texted Chad. He texted me, "I'm eating almonds with Mike, watching TV." I was like, awesome.
What are you up to?
Yeah, exactly. Well, one thing's for sure. When we look at Lilly buying in this early, we're going to see more consolidation. It's just a matter of when. But some telling signs we got yesterday, obviously, from Dan Carling, that they're going to see this through. I think the same thing applies with Compass. But when you bring up Spravato and what their addressable market is in comparison to general anxiety disorder, or MDD, major depressive disorder. Yeah.
Remember, each one of these publicly traded psychedelic companies has a different ship deployed. LSD, Ibogaine, DMT, psilocybin. So they're all deploying. Our fleet of psychedelics is all different ships. That's why there might be a little risk with one of them might get sunk type of thing. We get all the way up here and realize that one's a fail. But there are so many AUD, we're private right now, but I'm on the advisory board of Demerex with Dr. Mash. AUD, alcohol use disorder. I told you, man, I couldn't even smell alcohol. Maybe Susie's like, you want to go out to a restaurant? I'm like, nope. If I see a bottle of vodka, I'm going to hurl. So alcohol use disorder, I think she said there's 30 million. And those, you guys have been to the doctors, right? How many drinks do you have a week? You're like, one. So that's all self-reported. That's where the AUD numbers come from, is, your self-reported stuff. There's got to be 100 million Americans who abuse alcohol, let alone around the world. So could you imagine if Demerex gets approved with noribogaine, not ibogaine, but noribogaine, the non-psychedelic part of iboga? Forget about it. So I hope the guy you talked to sees this through. Christian Angermeyer said he'd see it through too, and he bailed on us. So,
have you looked at the company Absalera at all? They're working on a drug for hot flashes for women. That is like an AI biotech that's been around forever. It's ABCL.
ABCL.
Yeah, it's going into phase 3. And at first glance, I was like, oh, that doesn't sound serious. Then I looked at the actual addressable market, and it's
God, man.
Yeah, it's massive.
I'd buy some today. My wife said, yes.
Yeah.
ABC. I will take a look at that. I appreciate that.
Anthony, you got questions. AV, touch your nose if you are happy today. Take that for what it's worth. I'll touch my nose.
Chat in the questions. He picks the most obscure ones out of the chat.
It's all to get a reaction. That's what media is. Media 101, right?
I obviously touched my nose when I saw that because then he replied with my guy.
Wiz, Anthony and I were in Washington last week heading back to DCA airport. And I remember your friend was in that Black Hawk helicopter, was he not? Over the river there?
No. That was an Army helo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was bad. That was bad.
Yeah. Surreal.
That was bad.
One thing's for sure, though. When we go to Washington, I know it's the swamp and everything, but it's a great city. Just the things.
It's a great feeling landing in DC until it sets in, right?
I guess.
There's the initial coolness, and then you're like, walking the halls of Congress and seeing the people at the restaurants and the lobbyists, and it'll weigh you down. But you're right. The initial, man, you guys know the story. I thank God for JetBlue. I landed Friday night at like 11:30. Couldn't sleep. I was at the Oval Office at 8:30. I'm like, okay, this is fucking cool. But then, as the day went on, waiting for my flight, I'm like, I need to get out of here.
When you walk around like the Dirksen building, and when you actually look at what's going on, and you're like, that guy's a lobbyist with a suitcase full of cash. This guy's a greasy lobbyist trying to do God knows what. And then you just start looking at the politicians, and you're like, these guys are just followed by cliques of people that are sitting there waiting on them hand over fist.
I got out of an Uber one morning to go, I forget whichever building it was, to go meet. And Justin Lepre, Marine firefighter guy, great dude. He was waiting for me. I get out and we're shaking hands. I give him a hug, and out of the building comes like a 3-star Ukrainian general with a couple other folks with him. And they got into some limo, and I looked at him. I said, well, one of us is leaving here with some money today, and it ain't going to be us. So it was the truth.
Yeah. Washington is an experience when you're actually walking those buildings.
You're right.
Looking around as to what is actually going on.
Oh yeah. I don't like that's where they make the sausage, man. I just, when you initially land, you're like, what a beautiful sausage. And then you get into it and you're like, okay.
Yeah. and defibrillators every 10 feet to keep those lawmakers alive, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also saw a little bit of movement with Helus, formerly Cybin, this morning. They announced they completed enrollment in their phase 3 approach study for HLP003, their deuterated psilocybin analog for adjunctive treatment of major depressive disorder. What was that up today? Was it 15 points?
14. Closed up 14%.
Okay.
Yeah.
All in all, though, I bring this up because every single time you and I talk to each other, and AV has asked this question to you before, and it's the positive momentum with a lot of these stocks that are performing since we last spoke to you. And it's like there's these new benchmarks each time that we have you on, and we are inching closer as well to, I think there's going to be commercialization and FDA approval announcements come 2027. The Compass and Definium are the first ones on deck for that. But why not with those two? Because they, I would say, are probably the top 2 companies in the industry right now with what they produce so far.
100%. It's not a matter of if, but when.
I know.
And the FDA commissioner says this ain't going to be months or years. When this hits our inbox, Makari, he's gone now, but he's gone because he wasn't moving fast enough on stuff for Trump. So that tells you something. When that guy's like, this will be days, if not hours, to kick back to these companies when they submit an NDA. That's why, AV, you said earlier, they're doing rolling. The FDA is flying formation with these companies, going, hey, hit this stuff over the fence and let me sign it.
That's why I like Compass. That's why I chose Compass.
Correct me if I'm wrong. They're
in that process.
What's the gentleman's last name, Josh, from Psychedelics, the media company out of the UK? I sent you that screenshot a couple of weeks ago, and it was just more or less that there's still information that Compass has to submit in Q4. Yeah,
they're actively aggregating and will submit that.
Yeah. It's so funny because I had a buddy tell me, he's like, the government's bothering us. I'm like, that's bad. He's like, no. They're like, hurry up, speed it up. He's like, we can't rush healing. We got to hit, when this report date's due, like, hey, how you feel? We'll type it up and hit enter, but we can't push people. So the government's actually the one pushing these companies, not the companies, not the other way around. And good on Compass for doing 2 phase 3s, not just 1. They did 2, like kind of an FU to everybody, just to say it's good. So these, years ago when we all started talking, these were lottery tickets, and I called them that. These ain't lottery tickets anymore. These are mature companies, still biotech-ish to your point, Shad, but unless act of God happens, Definium and Compass are going to. Definium's already crushing it, but Compass is
the valuation
next on the catapult.
The valuation on Definium is wild compared.
Josh Hartman writes, he's talking about Compass here, whether such a large program accompanied by a robust durability data set is necessary to convince today's FDA to approve is unclear. As we have noted previously, with the benefit of hindsight, Compass's program might appear somewhat overdone, with some of its peers opting for single phase 3 approaches, smaller sample sizes, and perhaps slimmer durability data assets. I still view that as a positive because when he sits here and basically says might appear somewhat overdone, I'd rather be overdone than
you know why Compass did this, right? First of all, these phase 3 trials take a couple of years to get airborne, and they thought they were still going to be dealing with the Biden or God forbid the Harris administration, right?
Right.
So they booted the MDMA for X, Y, and Z reasons. So all these publicly traded psychedelic companies said, "Oh God, look at Rick Doblin and how he just flamed out. We're going to double and triple check our data." So that guy brings up a great point that it's a little overdone, but they weren't when they started all this stuff. It was kind of like, no, we want to triple check. So there is no doubt.
Do you think Compass gets the parity with Definium from a valuation perspective? Because
easily,
Definium's outpacing them 4-1.
Anthony, I'm between us ladies. I'm stunned it's not up there right now. So that's why this is a screaming buy. Jump in your time machine, go out to whatever Jan 28 and buy a shit pot of options right now because it will pop at the money options. Don't do the lottery ticket out of the money because if we get what happened with Atai, the same thing will happen. You got to buy some at the money.
I've been stacking shares in psychedelics.
Duly noted. Good educational piece. I'll leave this with you. That's the last thing that Josh said. It will hope for the same timeliness in the submission of its new drug application in the agency's review. It says the process is on track with initial review underway via rolling submission. The company's final package will be filed, it says, in Q4 with a potential launch in H1 or Q1 2027. So take that for what you will. But I would said, go ahead.
No, between us ladies, keep an eye on the options activity.
Yeah,
I'd be shocked if there's insider trading going on. Are you kidding me? They just fired and did they arrest the guy? Trump's teleprompter dude. Yeah. He was getting on Kalshi and placing bets before Trump would give a speech.
Well, Definium moved aggressively before the announcement.
So use your AI, use whatever scanners you guys have. I guarantee you somebody at the FDA or somebody in La Familia de Trump, there's going to be a lot of where's this stuff bubble up first? The options market. So
all right,
NASCAR, man, just fast follow. Get behind whoever just bought a ton of call options because they probably know something. It's a thing. Be it like a little remora fish on a shark.
It happened today. You can eat. It happened today in crypto with the Clarity Act. There was a ton of options.
I heard about that.
Yep. And then there's traction on the Clarity Act, and then Russia also has legalized crypto as a form of currency. And then Coinbase, all the other companies just went hockey stick up and to the right.
This is awesome. I'll let you run. I will let you know that we were in California last month filming. I extended my trip. One of our clients invited me to the NASCAR event that was in Coronado on the Navy base. Never been to really a NASCAR event, but that was pretty cool. But I will say all the military veterans said they will never watch Top Gun 2: The Maverick. They said Tom Cruise was an absolute asshole during filming. So take that for what you will.
You know what? They're filming or they're starting to do the storyline for Top Gun 3.
Yeah,
Maverick faces his most lethal enemy, the VA. The guy's ejected, 3 times at Mach 10. He thinks he killed his buddy. He's a combat veteran. And when he submits his stuff to the VA, not service related. Next. That should be the storyline, but I don't think
that's pretty
I don't think Paramount's going to give me a call and get my input. But yeah, Maverick faces this. Or you know what it should be? They deny him. Then he jumps on his fucking motorcycle and goes across the border from San Diego to a clinic and does Ibogaine. That should be Top Gun 3.
That'd be something.
Don't look now, gents. College football and NFL. They check in next week. I can't believe
Hotty man.
Here.
So Susie and I, I'm in a shitty place right now, man. We're about to be empty nesters. We're taking Keely to Ole Miss in a couple weeks. I'm going Ole Miss LSU, man. Lane Kiffin back in Oxford. Forget about it. It's good. That's the game of the season. Is Lane Kiffin back at Ole Miss, man? I can't.
We got to go watch that game. That'd be incredible.
Well,
I'm going to the Grove, man.
Miami might be the preseason number one.
The same day as LSU, Ole Miss is Notre Dame, Miami.
Oh, okay.
And Alabama
and Ohio State right now are the consensus number ones going into the season.
Nah, Ole Miss, baby. I'm in a
the Hurricanes arguably got better.
I don't know. I was reading ESPN yesterday, and I'm just like, Ohio State, they lost 11 starters. They're back ranked number one, but
I forget about it. AV, you're a Hurricanes fan?
Yeah.
You're a convict versus the Catholics?
Yep. I hate Notre Dame.
Convicts. I'm a Wolverine fan.
I hate Notre Dame with a passion.
They just
it was an even bigger crock of shit from last year in the national championship. Half the guys on Indiana were 24, 25 years old.
Yeah, they were old.
Which is crazy. Their center was 25 years old. That's an NFL lineman.
He could be a college professor at that point.
Yeah.
Ward Manuel, the athletic director for Michigan, is stepping down finally. On his resume, man, it's been great. But when I look at all the scandals that have happened in the last 8 years under his watch, you talk about convicts. There's been a lot.
Yeah. Big blue means their prison uniform color.
Yeah, no kidding. Anyway, we'll tell the family we say hi. And
I will, fellas.
God bless your daughter and best of luck at school this fall. Son is still out of Colorado.
Jack will be a senior. Go Buffs. Go Buffs. One more year of watching Dion flame out, but we're going to go to a couple Buff games too. And then my oldest son, Matthew's up at Dover Air Force Base. He's on active duty in the Air Force. So keeping an eye on my boy. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. Always good
seeing you. Pray for peace on earth, man. Yeah, right, thanks, Shad.
Good seeing you, Wiz.
All right.
Thanks,
Wiz. Good to see you, AV. We'll see you.
Take care. All right. That was great. We got on tap for tomorrow. Our weekly Vantage Standard segment. We're going to have Dr. Paul Shields back on again. We'll look at some of the headlines and see if we can land anybody. But all in all, we'll just keep it rolling along, telling stuff. And I like his take. He just thought not a good deal when you consider Spravato doing already $2 billion and the way this deal was structured. I was not surprised that Wiz felt that way about this acquisition with Eli Lilly. And
I mean, he's right. He's right. But at the same time, unfortunately, executives don't always do the deal that is in the best interest of their shareholders.
Yeah.
They do the deal that's in the best interest of themselves.
Jeepers. We're at an hour and 12 minutes. I didn't realize how long it was.
And Kyle's on with tomorrow.
Thank you, Guap. Appreciate that. Kyle Sherman from Flowhub will join us again, and that'll be always good. Always good conversations with Kyle. So we'll be all set up and geared up for tomorrow's show. As yes, we're on a new timeline, which is August 17th, and after that, we will see what this ALJ recommendation will be. But I think things will move fast, and it'll be okay. And I think things will move positive. But we all know what next steps. What?
You said you think things will move fast.
I think things will move relatively fast once the 17th comes. That's define what fast is. Like, I don't think this is going to be months. Could it be week? Like a recommendation? Like, I think, me personally, am I hoping before the end of August? I hope. Could we get it? Yeah, I do think that we could. Do I know that for sure? No, but no one does. But I do think that considering the way the hearing went and the way things have kind of unfolded in the backing of the DEA and the DOJ, like, to me, it just looks promising. So one thing I have a tough time doing is just waiting for the next headlines or the deadlines, excuse me. Like, first it was waiting for June 29th. Now it's August 17th, but that's part of change. But putting things into perspective, we're trying to wipe out the last 50 years in a matter of a couple of months. And that's what we have to factor in.
Yep.
So it is what it is.
Yep.
All right. Good seeing you, my friend. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks for checking in our latest TDR Trade to Black presented by Flowhub. See you tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
Bye, buddy.
Hey everyone, thanks again for watching here today. Listen, if you're getting value from us here at TDR, make sure to check us out at TDR Plus. It's our exclusive membership community. Why? Well, you'll see CEO interviews that go beyond business, showing a personal side that you won't find anywhere else, including the biggest names in the industry. Plus, you'll get insights from analysts and day traders on where the industry's headed, both short-term and long-term, and a direct chat group with our team. It's only $7 a month, just 25 cents a day, and it helps support everything we do here at TDR. If you want to join, just click the join button below and become a TDR Plus member today. And once again, a big thank you for being part of our community. So that's it for today. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.